Okay, I'm gonna try and keep things as brief as possible here because I don't want the file for this recording to be so long that I can't like turn it in properly. But basically, because I was sick while we were planning to get this done as a group, I just was sleeping the entire day. I did not have the energy to get this finished for when everyone was doing it, whatever day that was. Uh, I still showed up because I wanted to be able to, because they already had theirs done. That was the time we agreed on. But we haven't been able to schedule properly for them to meet up for me to present mine with them. So I'm just going to do it by myself because I do not want to put that on them because I feel like that is unfair, as we had already agreed on that time beforehand. And, things happen. That just is what it is. I do not want to, especially during their little Thanksgiving break here, I don't want to do that to someone. So I'm just going to go through this solo. I'm not sure exactly how, because I mean, I'm not going to be able to ask people questions and whatnot, but I'll just walk through the idea of what I was going for here. So I modeled this lesson a lot after what I did with my narrative writing lesson plan, probably about like a week or something ago. Very similar in the methodology there, where we look at something and then we're just going to try and focus in on one or two things and try and emulate that with these students. So the poem that I picked out was Solitude by Ella Wilcox. Um, and you'll be able to see all of this, obviously, in the actual Word doc. But just to start off, so we start with B here, um, how we're bridging into the activity. So usually I tried to fit this into the model of my internship placement, how we usually do lesson plans there. And a lot of the time we start off with a journal prompt. For this one, I had, in your experience, are people less likely to socialize with people who are having a bad day or come off as depressed? Um, Basically, linking in with the idea of this poem, which is uh, Emma Wilcox, or not Emma, Ella Wilcox, talking about basically how if you are super positive and happy, people love to be around you. If you look like you're down in the dumps, even though that's the time where you need support the most, people are not really uh, open as much to hanging around someone who would be, I guess, a stick in the mud, if you want to view it that way, um, because it just isn't as fun, I guess. People don't like when other people are depressing, basically. Um, and the poem has some truth to it, right? This is stuff that we see. If you've ever gone, whenever you're on hard times yourself, you might notice that people are really not like you kind of gotta just put on a face for people so that you don't want to kill the vibe, right? You don't want to be the person killing the mood, and it's a little weird, right? It's a little weird to have that be something that we do because we've all been in that position. But I mean, I've done it plenty of times where I'm like, dude, why are you bringing down the mood, man? Like, I was having a good time, and now you're talking about all this real life stuff, and I'm like, what's going on, dude? But you know, it's just uh, basically Wilcox getting to the center of a truth surrounding the human condition. And so, what we're trying to do with this lesson is bring that out in the kids for them to find either something, a social issue that they observe that they feel similarly about, something along those lines, where it's like something that gets to the core of the human condition, something that we see frequently, and we're like, you know what, this doesn't make sense, but we all partake in it. Um, so, really, but the subject, what they write about, the content, is not the important part. What we're looking for is their ability to emulate some of the tactics that she's using here. So we see a lot of in this poem by Wilcox. We see a lot of like antithetical juxtapositions. So her taking two opposing ideas and basically just showing you like the differences between the two sides of the coin, right? So like with the first two lines, laugh and the world laughs with you, weep and you weep alone. So using that format, we want to try and get a similar scheme with the kids. So the way we start is we just give them an open-ended. Let me find the prompt here so I can read it out because that would be much more simple. Okay, so write a short poem about a social habit you observed in the people around you that you take issue with. It can be on the same topic as Wilcox's poem, or it can be a different social issue if you want. Rhyme, scheme, and meter are unimportant. Just try to get around 8-ish lines of poetry. You will have 10 minutes to write. So, we're giving a lot of open-endedness here, just trying to get, like, something on the, let's get some points on the board, right? That's really all it's about here, trying to get some work out of the kids, and then we return to it, and then we're looking for form. So now we come back to it with the kids, and we're trying to give some guidance on, like, so now that you have picked something, you know what you want to write about, you've gotten some work down, now it's time to try and apply these tactics that we saw Wilcox using in your own stuff. So we go over talking about those juxtapositions, talking about some metaphor, but really it's the juxtaposition that I think we focus on the most. Because when I wrote mine, that was certainly what I was honing in on. I was honing in on let's do these like compare and contrast kind of things where we're trying to draw out some truth from reality by looking at it through that, like, the lens of, like, here's one side of the spectrum, here's the other. Trying to do that, and trying to get the kids to do the same thing. So let's go to the guiding questions for that, actually, because that would be what's next up. No. Okay, so something I had us ask, I guess I'm kind of doing this out of order, but this is what we do after the initial reading. So what do you think makes someone write a poem? Like, this simple question, right? But, like, what, because you don't want to just ask what is the poem about, like, yeah, that's a boring question. So you want to know what headspace do you think the author was in, what do you think they were going through in life to get to talking about something like this. Then why do people shy away from hanging around people who are going through it in life? So basically giving them the idea of what it is, because we don't want to waste too much time talking about, let's figure out what the idea of this poem is. Sometimes I think it's just like, that isn't really what the point of what we're going for. Right now we're just trying to emulate these tactics, so let's not beat around the bush with that, and just, like, let's get to the point. So it's more so comprehending the topic than, like, some investigative work of, like, well, what is it? I feel like it's pretty straightforward. Although you say that as the teacher, sometimes that is not the case on the other end. But next question being, do you think this poem's image of human interactions is true all the time? So basically, is this always how it is? And I feel like responses we get on that, a lot of people would say yes, but I feel like in any given class you're going to get at least one kid who's like, no. Because it isn't always like that, especially not so much nowadays. That's because, like, this poem, it talks also about, like, from the female perspective of, like, suitors and, like, are you down in the dumps? And that's kind of something that, while it is relevant, it's not as relevant now as it used to be in Wilcox's time. So I'm sure we would get a little bit of a different perspective in that sense. Anyway, moving on. The guiding questions. Oh, I just read those. I'm tripping. So, okay, here we go. E. After the students have produced an initial effort, script out some directions for revising. And that's kind of just what I talked about before, focusing on juxtapositions, trying to make sure, well, not make sure, but trying to get the kids, push them to use a similar structure, because that was what we would be emulating. And if I had a rubric for this, I think that's really what I would hone in on with the rubric is, did you use a juxtaposition in here? Did you use a metaphor in here? Did you use this structure? Did you emulate these certain things rather than focusing on the what are you talking about, you know? Although you could instill within that rubric something about like, hey, here's, like, did you have a topic that talks about a social issue? Because I feel like you want to keep it narrowed down to that even still. Anyway, so the one that I wrote, so I focused on the difference between lies and the truth, and I'll just read mine out real quick here. Lie and the world lies to you, tell the truth and people give you odd looks. So using the semicolons, trying to emulate that, because with the kids, what I mean, the semicolon's not as important, and I don't expect a lot of kids to pick up on that or do that. It's really just like, I mean, it's a poem, you know, so the grammar is really coming second. I think what we're looking for primarily is, are they doing these juxtapositions? Um, anyway, for to tell the truth is an ideal scarcely accepted, a value instilled as a child but unvalued in the world of adults. Had you lied, the world would have felt better about itself. Now you are the villain for acknowledging its flaws. Lie and you disrespect those who call or those you call friend. Tell the truth and risk losing friend to offense. They want your praise but not your critique, but withhold your critique, and the more they worsen. Lie and the world lies to you. Tell the truth and the world lies still. So basically taking on that same approach that Wilcox used with the juxtapositions and trying to draw something out of it. So, like I said, I'm not looking for like the semicolon and all of the form to be at this level for what the kids are doing, but just like something along these lines of using the juxtaposition. And it doesn't have to be everywhere because she doesn't use it everywhere in her own poem, but to at least do it twice, I would say. Once for each stanza would be nice. Um, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to do these reflection questions while I'm presenting here, and for the sake of not killing my computer with a super big file, I'm already at 11 minutes here. So I'm just gonna wrap this up actually real quick because I'm about to hit 1 gigabyte, and I do not want to hit 1 gigabyte.